Humans have been gathered around fires to tell stories for thousands and thousands of years. There's something about the flickering light and the darkness and being out in nature. And we still gather in groups and families around light for our stories. If you think about television or sitting in a theater watching a movie, it's a great place to let the imagination go and to contemplate nature, the stars. So many of the early stories involve the stars and the solar system and humans' connection to nature and the meaning of why we're here. So many of those origin stories probably happened at night around a fire in a simple shelter. Storytelling is really important for a culture or a society, as we've been learning. Deeply embedded in stories are keys to the way we interpret the things that we don't know, the things that we can't prove scientifically. Sometimes they're called mythologies, which has come to mean something that isn't true, but it's closer to, I think, that which can't be proven by science. In these stories, it's totally natural that humans would want to provide explanations for the meaning of life, what happens before we're born, after we die. And in our stories, as we've seen, we're still grappling with those issues today, and how to behave within a culture, how to live a good life. The faces may be different, the costumes may be different, the technologies and the science may be different. But still, it's a very social thing to go to a movie, and it shapes our culture, as we've seen, in very significant ways. What we're going to look at this week is how stories can shape our psychology, really, and our own imagination. And not always in great ways, maybe in some surprising ways. And I'm not here to say that everything is all doom and gloom or bad. I think it can be very exciting. But we're going to look at images this week that might spark some discussion and challenge some of the images and ideas that you might associate with them. And that's always an interesting thing. And a storyteller, I think, might want to be familiar with the way images and visual images, sound images, and feelings connect in order to communicate important ideas. Over the past few years, I've been able to travel to many places around the world, and I've specifically enjoyed going to the great cathedrals, the temples, the mosques, and I've noticed just what a beautiful reverence for creation in all of these buildings, and in fact how similar they are rather than how different. For me, it's not about what religion you are, it's really more about humans' desire to connect with something greater than themselves. And that's a beautiful component in storytelling in general that can be very powerful to tap into. I really appreciate the stained glass windows in a lot of these cathedrals. Looking here at the stained glass windows of Sainte-Chapelle in Paris, you can see that these are very closely related to cinema in that they are frames of illuminated pictures that tell a story. And often one has to remember that the people who would visit these churches could not read or write, and so the stories had to be presented through pictures. And so these are kind of like, respectfully, large comic strips or large presentations of stories for the masses and the faithful to read, so they could understand and sort of absorb the stories and the ideas of the Bible in this case. What we're going to see this week is, wow, like a moth to a flame. How fitting. Of course, many people are looking deeply at the theory of how images affect us. Laura Mulvey, in particular, is credited with really opening the eyes on feminist film theory. Guy Debord, Society of the Spectacle, looks at the way economic systems and images have colonized our cultures. Roland Barthes looks at the meaning behind the symbolism in images and the linguistic aspects of it in a very clever way. And there are many, many others, and we'll begin to look at some of those ideas just to broaden our perspective on film criticism, animation criticism, and theory, and the way images affect our consciousness and our culture, and why they're so powerful. I think as storytellers we have a responsibility, not just to entertain or to make a dollar, but in my view, to maybe teach something and to be kind in our stories. So many of our stories are just filled with violence and just competition, and I realize that's part of trying to make sense of the natural world, particularly as of today. But there is an opportunity to shape the visuality of a culture. If our visuality, meaning the images that we always see, are of competition and violence and conflict, then it's possible that we may be shaping that into reality. And so it's possible that we could shape into reality, I think, another type of vision. So maybe visions that are more peaceful or that can propel us forward away from conflict.